بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. To proceed today, inshallah, we'll talk about al-Mushahada, the station of al-Mushahada, or the chapter of al-Mushahada, witnessing. That's station number 82 in Imam al-Harawi's book Manaazil As-Saa'ireen. And in the fiqh session we will finish the chapter on Masail Shatta, which is miscellaneous matters, and then we will quickly go over the chapters that pertain to slavery, allegiance, emancipation, promise of emancipation upon death, emancipation by contract, and the mothers of children, ummahat al-awlad. But first, inshallah, we will talk about al-Mushahada, or the station of witnessing. And remember the last time we were talking about the station of disclosure, when Allah discloses to you unseen realities of the unseen. And today we will talk about al-Mushahada, which is witnessing, and it is higher, a station that is higher than disclosure. But al-Mu'ayana, which is basically eye witnessing, is this next station. And it is important that we understand that Imam al-Harawi put those as stations 81, 82, 83, and he put other stations above them, which tells you that he does not intend by disclosure, witnessing, or beholding that this is the beholding of the eye, because that would be hard to put any station higher than beholding by the eye. So that is when it comes to the basically the order in which he put those stations. But he certainly means beholding by the heart, and that is not controversial. Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala said, قال الله عز وجل إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. And this is in Surah Qaf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, surely in that is indeed a reminder to him who has a heart or is eager on hearing and is constantly present, is a constantly present witness. Is a constantly present witness. The word shaheed means, shaheed could mean martyr, because the martyr witnesses with his blood, he testifies with his blood to the genuineness of his faith and the truthfulness of his commitment. But shaheed here means a constantly present witness, because it's not shahid, which is witness, but it is shaheed, that is a superlative from shahid, and it means constantly present witness. He's witnessing all the time. Then the Shaykh said, al-Mushahadatu suqut al-hijab بتا وهي فوق المكاشفة لأن المكاشفة ولاية النعت وفيه شيء من بقايا الرسم والمشاهدة ولاية العين والذات وهي على 3 درجات. Witnessing is the complete dropping of the veil. It is above al-mukashafa, which is disclosure, because al-mukashafa attends to the attributes. So it has some remains of the images, while al-mukashafa attends to the divine ipseity or that, and it is of 3 levels. So he says that disclosure, it is when Allah discloses the unseen realities to you, It is basically when you behold the manifestations of the attributes. When you behold the attributes and the manifestations of the attributes. But you're not beholding the ipseity, the divine ipseity, the divine that. And that is why al-mushahada, where your focus of attention is the that, not the sifat, is the divine ipseity, not the attributes of the divine, not the divine attributes, is higher to the Shaykh. According to the Shaykh, it is higher when you behold the divine ipseity. And as we said, this is the beholding of the heart, and we will come to address this in more detail at the end, inshallah, of our talk. So the Shaykh is saying that, maqam al-mushahada, the station of mushahada, which is witnessing the divine ipseity by the heart, is higher because when you're witnessing the attributes, keep in mind the manifestations of the attributes are the temporal beings and temporal events. When you witness the attribute of Allah's might, mostly you are witnessing the manifestations of Allah's might. You are witnessing what Allah had done to the previous nations of ancient. You are witnessing the mercy or the gentleness of Allah. You're witnessing their manifestations in the temporally originated creations. And that is why he says that these are images. Because when you are attending to or paying attention to the attributes and their manifestations, you are paying attention to the attributes and their manifestations in the universe, in the temporally originated creations. So that's why he says because al-mukashafa attends to the attributes, so it has some remains of the images. Do you understand now what he means by the images? The images are the exterior realities, where al-haq, the true one, is the ultimate reality, and everything else to the Shaykh, in the Shaykh's terminology, is rusum, images. We are images. We are the images because the Shaykh wants to say we're all the manifestations of some of his attributes. Like we're contingent beings, we are not the necessary being. We are temporally originated, we are muhdath, so we're simply images of or manifestations of his attributes, of his divine attributes. So anything in the Shaykh's terminology that relates to the creation is described as rusum or images, because the ultimate reality is the divine himself, and anything else beside the divine would be described as ras phenomena, the sort of the phenomena-noumena distinction that they have. That does not mean that these images do not have ontological reality. As we said before, they do have ontological reality. They are real, but their reality is not in any way comparable to the reality of their creator. Because their reality, the fact that we're contingent, basically we're disposable, aren't we? Like if I really didn't come to this world, nothing would have, it would have collapsed, any one of you guys. If you could do away with anyone here. So contingent beings, our existence is not even necessary for the world. We come, we go. Maybe if we didn't come, no one would have noticed. Your parents would have been fine with the 3 other kids that they had, and so on. So you do want to imbibe that feeling, that we are images, we're contingent, we are not the necessary being, our reality is different, without compromising your understanding and your also realization of the reality of the creation, because our Lord is the true creator. So he brought about real creation to existence. They do have ontological existence, and they are different from the creator because the creator and the creation are not one and the same. There is the creator and there is the creation, and there is a clear line of distinction between them. And their coming to existence is a clear, active act of creation, bringing us from nothingness. At one point, we were nothing, even though we were created from this earth, from the soil of this earth, but the soil of this earth itself at one point did not exist. And no particular matter is eternal. No particular matter is eternal. Therefore, everything is created ex nihilo, or from nothingness. Okay, so do you now understand what why the Shaykh considers al-mushahada above al-mukashafa? Because al-mushahada focuses on the ipseity, on the that, on the divine essence versus the attributes and their manifestations in the universe, which are the images around us, or the phenomena around us. But at the same time, it is important also to say, and this is a discussion that Ibn al-Qayyim goes into in detail in Manaazil As-Saa'irīn. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said about, that distinction that was made by Imam al-Harawi rahimahullah, that it is almost impossible, inconceivable, to perceive the that without the sifat, or the sifat without the that. It is ontologically impossible that there is a that is not qualified by any attributes. And it is conceptually impossible to perceive of a that stripped from the sifat, or sifat stripped from the that. Isn't it true? Like when you perceive of when you think of the might of Allah, or the mercy of Allah, or the gentleness of Allah, can you perceive this isolated from Allah? No. Because when you try to think of mercy, might, that has to be in connection to, in relation to the agent, not isolated. You can't perceive, you can't basically conceptualize the attributes stripped from the that, the ipseity, the divine essence. The same applies to the divine essence. You are beholding the divine essence that is described by all of those attributes, by all attributes of majesty and beauty, al-jalal wal-jamal, and perfection, al-kamal. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, like he always does, he wants to justify what the Shaykh said in a way that would be consistent, completely consistent with revelation. And he keeps on talking about how shuhud al-sifat is the maqam of the anbiya and the rusul, beholding the attributes of the divine is the station of the messengers and the prophets, and he proves this. But he wants to say that the Shaykh means here that when you see one sifa, when you are absorbed into beholding or witnessing one sifa, that is inferior, of course, to beholding that is described by all the sifat. That is why the Prophet ﷺ, when he talked about Asma Allah Azza wa Jal, قَالَ مَنْ أَحْصَاهَا دَخَلَ الْجَنَّةِ. Whoever comprehends, not ahsaha here would not be comprehension, it would be comprehension, realization, actualization. It is like different from simple comprehension. Man ahsaha, whoever realizes them, comprehends and acts upon that comprehension of the names, of the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will enter paradise. So it is, the maqam that the Shaykh wants to say that it is maqam al-shuhud is to behold with the eyes of your heart the divine essence, the divine ipseity that is described by all of these attributes of Jamal, beauty, Jalal, majesty, and Kamal, perfection. That's clear, right? Whereas al-Mukashafa is to disclose some of the unseen realities to you, some of the manifestations of the attributes to you in reality, and that is different from beholding the divine essence that is described by all the attributes. You're cognizant of all the attributes together, and none of the attributes bars you from witnessing the other attributes. So witnessing the attributes of majesty does not keep you from witnessing the attributes of beauty. Witnessing the attributes of beauty does not keep you from witnessing the attributes of majesty. وهو العزيز الرحيم. You can at the same time witness the attribute of might and mercy in the same that or in the same essence. Then the Shaykh said, وهي على 3 درجات. So المشاهدة or witnessing attends to the divine ipseity. It is of 3 levels. The Shaykh will start then to talk about the 3 levels. The first level, he said, الدرجة الأولى مشاهدة معرفة تجري فوق حدود العلم في لوائح نور الوجود منيخة بفناء الجمع. مشاهدة معرفة تجري فوق حدود العلم في لوائح نور الوجود منيخة بفناء الجمع. The first level is the witnessing of ma'rifah, which is recognition. And as we said before, they do use the word ma'rifah versus ilm to talk about the knowledge, the beneficial knowledge of the heart versus the technical knowledge of the intellect or the mind or the tongue. So the first level is the witnessing of ma'rifah or recognition, which transcends the boundaries of knowledge. Transcends the boundaries of knowledge does not mean substitute, it means complement. It transcends the boundary of knowledge does not mean that it is in a different direction from knowledge and that there is some contradiction between this and knowledge. No, it means that it builds on top of knowledge. After knowledge, if you don't transcend that, if you don't move beyond gathering information, to have heartly recognition, to make use of the information that you gathered, if you stop just at hudud al-ilm and you don't have an experience of faith, then that is certainly insufficient. So it transcends the boundaries of knowledge. In the tablets of the light of actualization, wujud means what? Existence. But wujud in the sense, wujud in their terminology could mean different things, but it actually, the best translation for wujud is actualization, to actualize faith. So, في روائح نور الوجود, in the tablets of the light of actualization. منيخة بفناء الجمع, making their mount kneel down in the front yard of the citadel of Jam' or togetherness. It's a long translation of 3 words. But منيخة, anacha, means to make your camel kneel down. It's like you're just almost there, but you're in the front yard. You have not entered the citadel yet. You have just arrived, and now you are making or letting your camel kneel down in the front yard of the citadel of togetherness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or Jama. Then the Shaykh said, وَالدَّرَجَةُ الثَّانِيَةِ, the second level, مشاهدة معاينة تقطع حبال الشواهد وتلبس أو تلبس نعوت القدس وتخرس ألسنة الإشارة. The second level is the eyewitnessing, which cuts off the ropes of signposts. It cuts off the ropes of signposts. Imagine the signposts are like ropes that attract you to Allah. So when you arrive in His presence, the ropes are of no use. So you're not using the signposts to learn about Him. You're not using the signposts to get to Him. You're there. So the ropes are, now the ropes are cut off, or they become of no use. And then وَتُلْبِسُ نُعُوتَ الْقُدُسِ and wears the attributes of holiness, or makes you wear the attributes of holiness. It can be talbas or tulbis. The mushahada itself would wear the attributes of holiness, or would cause you to wear the attributes of holiness. Al-Quds here. Al-Quds, the attributes of holiness would be the divine attributes, but not that you would wear the divine attributes in the sense of you becoming partner of the divine concerning His attributes. Certainly not. Absolutely not. But the attributes of the divine have the human manifestations, like didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describe the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Ra'ufur Rahim? Azizun alayhi ma anittum harisun alaykum bil mu'minina Ra'ufur Rahim. لقد جاءكم رسول من أنفسكم عزيز عليه ما عنتم حريص عليكم بالمؤمنين رؤوف رحيم. The Prophet ﷺ was described in the Quran as Ra'uf, Rahim. That would be compassionate and merciful. And these are two attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ra'uf, Rahim are two attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the human manifestations of those attributes are ones that you want to emulate, are ones that you want to acquire. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has attributes that are befitting of us to emulate, and attributes are unbefitting for us to emulate. And then we have virtuous attributes that are unbefitting of Him. So He has attributes that are befitting for us to emulate. These are the attributes of gentleness and generosity and mercy and so on. You try to emulate them as much as you can. Certainly the human manifestations of them, not the divine manifestations, because that's beyond us. But then the attributes of might and majesty and so on, you don't emulate those. You don't emulate the attribute of al-Jabbar, for instance, the irresistible. And attempting to emulate those will make you like Fir'aun and those people. So, but then we have virtuous attributes that belong to us, that are befitting of us, which are the attributes of the Ubudiyyah, Al-Inkisar, and humbleness, humility, brokenness. These are attributes that are befitting of us and not befitting of Him. So when you wear the attributes of holiness, you're trying to emulate of the divine attributes those that are befitting of us in their human manifestation, in addition to the virtuous attributes that befit you and do not befit the divine, like brokenness and humbleness and so on. And then وَتُخْرِسُ أَلْسِنَةَ الْإِشَارَةِ, and silences the tongues of symbolism. Silences the tongues of symbolism, because there is no pointing anymore after arrival. There is no pointing after realization. There is no pointing after actualization. والدرجة الثالثة مشاهدة جمع تجذب إلى عين الجمع مالكة لصحة الورود راكبة بحر الوجود. So he says the third level is the witnessing of Jam', which pulls towards the locus of Jam'. Ayn al-Jam', the focus of Jam', the locus of Jam', the center of Jam', the eye of Jam', the heart of Jam', the core of Jam'. Okay, Ayn al-Jam'. So it pulls to Ayn al-Jam'. When your togetherness with Allah will make you vanish in the sense of not having any sense or perception of the self, and not your will not competing in any way with the divine will, it becomes so subservient, although it is distinct from the divine will, and it will not vanish into it, because that will be, we're talking about one being. But even though it is it is distinct from the divine will, it is your will as a creation, but it is so subservient that it becomes that there is no distinction anymore, because your will is so subservient حتى يكون هواه تبعا لما جئت به, until his desire is in accordance with that which I have brought forth. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. So you desire what the divine desires, what God desires, what God wants, what God decrees, and then, وَجُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ. Then the salah becomes the comfort of your eye, because you become Abd Rabbani, so a man of the Lord, meaning all of your intents are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You live by Allah, for Allah, with Allah. So you're being pulled to the locus of Jam', Malikatan لصحة الورود, possessing certainty of the advent, راكبة بحر الوجود, and sailing the ocean of full actualization. Sailing the ocean of full actualization. That is the full actualization of your faith by letting go of yourself, your ego, and being completely absorbed in your focus, object of worship, your Lord. Now, having talked about al-mushahada and the confusion that sometimes can take place in the minds of some people, that Allah can be seen by the eyes of our head, and that is counter to consensus. This consensus was reported by many, including Qushayri rahimahullah in his Risala, although he then said that some people raised sort of disagreed, but he did report the consensus of Muslim scholars that Allah will not be seen in this life by the eyes, by these eyes, the eyes in our head. And all of the ru'ya that is talked about, and all of the mushahada that's talked about is different. Certainly the ru'ya in manam, which is the dreams, that has been reported from some of the righteous scholars and the Prophet ﷺ himself, and so on. But that is not seeing the actual, you're seeing your Lord in actuality, in the extramental reality. That is seeing the image of your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in wakefulness, you don't see your Lord in actuality whatsoever, and you don't see the Lord with the eyes of your head in wakefulness, in the extramental reality, the so-called al-Kharij, outside of the mind. So what do we do when some righteous people say that they saw Allah in wakefulness? What do? We just can't accept it. We can't accept it because we have so many layers that would prevent us from accepting it. We have Allah saying in Surah Al-An'am, لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. No eyesight will encompass him, realize him, but he sort of encompasses all eyesights. You could say visual perception, eyesight, basar, vision, no eyesight, no visual perception will encompass him or realize him, but he encompasses all eyesight. لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. And you have the Prophet ﷺ saying in Sahih Muslim, وَتَعَلَّمُوا أَنَّهُ لَنْ يَرَى أَحَدٌ مِّنْكُمْ رَبَّهُ حَتَّى يَمُوتْ. Learn well that none of you will see their Lord until they die. That's in Sahih Muslim. And then we have the consensus of the scholars. And even the Prophet ﷺ, if anyone were to see their Lord in this dunya, it would be the Prophet ﷺ. Even the controversy about whether the Prophet ﷺ in Mi'raj, in the ascent to the heavens, saw his Lord or not, no, he did not. And the vast majority of scholars said that he did not. Whatever was mentioned from Abdullah ibn Abbas or Imam Ahmad that the Prophet ﷺ saw his Lord, that is not eyesight, that is heart sight, not eyesight, not by the eyes. So when Aisha denied that he saw his Lord, she was right. But what Ibn Abbas said about this was not counter to what Aisha said. Because what Ibn Abbas said, Ibn Abbas did not say with the eyes of his head. He just said, Ra'a. He saw his Lord. That could be the eyes of his heart. They're reconciled between the positions of Abdullah ibn Abbas and Aisha. And that is the position of the vast majority of Muslim scholars. Even the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not see his Lord in this dunya with his eyes. And anyone who claims that he had seen the Lord with his eyes, if we even say that the Prophet ﷺ did, even if we agree that the Prophet did see his Lord with the eyes of his head, with these eyes, then the person who claims to have seen their Lord with the eyes of their head, they would be saying that we are somewhere between the Prophet ﷺ and Musa. We are a little bit higher than Musa, a little bit lower than the Prophet ﷺ, because they would not claim to be at the same level with the Prophet ﷺ. Because if Musa was denied that request, and no other prophet or messenger of God has been granted that honor, and if you come now and claim that you were granted that honor, or anyone of this ummah after the Prophet ﷺ, never been reported from any of the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim, then all of these layers will make us unable to believe you. But we're not belying you. And that is what Ibn al-Qayyim says here in a very long passage that I decided to translate from Manaazil As-Saa'irīn and read for you because it's so beautiful. How you hold on to the text of Revelation, how you hold on to the truth as you understand it, and how you try to find excuse so that you do not belie someone who is otherwise righteous and who's otherwise committed to the deen. So here, I'll read. Should I read it English first and then Arabic, or Arabic first and then English? Oh, really? Okay. So the Shaykh said, Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala said here in Manaazil As-Saa'irīn, ويجب التنبه هنا على أمر وهو أن المشاهدة نتائج العقائد، فمن كان معتقده ثابتا في أمر من الأمور فإنه إذا صفت نفسه وارتاضت وفارقت الشهوات والرذائل وصارت روحانية تجلت لها صورة معتقدها كما اعتقدت، وربما قوي ذلك التجلي حتى يصير كالعيان وليس به فيقع الغلط من وجهين. Okay. It must be noted here that the witnessing, I'm going to read paragraph by paragraph. It must be noted here that the witnessing is the outcome of belief or the result of belief. So he who has solid belief in some matter, when his nafs, inner self, becomes refined and purified, separates from the lower lusts and vices and becomes spiritual, the image of its belief will appear to it in the way it believed in it. This appearance continues to become clearer and more vivid to the point where it becomes like eye-witnessing, but it is not. This may lead to error in two ways. Okay, he said, أحدهما ظن أن ذلك ثابت في الخارج وإنما هو في الذهن ولكن لما صفى الارتياض وانجلت عنه ظلمات الطبع وغاب بمشهوده عن شهوده واستولت عليه أحكام القلب بل أحكام الروح ظن أنه الذي ظهر له في الخارج ولا تأخذه في ذلك لومة لائم ولو جاءته كل آية في السماوات والأرض وذلك عنده بمنزلة من عاين الهلال ببصره جهرة فلو قال له أهل السماوات والأرض لم تره لم يلتفت إليهم. One error is to think that this mental image, mental conception, mental image, is existent in the extramental reality outside of the mind, when it is only in the mind. But when the spiritual refinement reaches its pinnacle, see how he is not bashing them. He is not bashing those people. He's talking about how refined they could have become. So when the spiritual refinement reaches its pinnacle and the darkness of the lower nature gets abolished and he gets separated from his witnessing by being absorbed, his active witnessing, his active witnessing is his own act, but he's now absorbed into the witness. So he even does not feel the self. So he gets separated from the witnessing, the active witnessing, by being absorbed into the witnessed. And the rules of the heart, أحكام القلب, nay, those of the spirit, he means versus those of the nafs. And we did talk before about the difference between the nafs and heart and the spirit. And the rules of the heart, nay, those of the spirit, dominate. He thinks that what appeared to him is outside. He thinks that what appeared to him in the mind is outside in the extramental reality. Then they will fear not the blame of the critics. So they will speak of their experience and fear not the blame of the critics. At that time, the strength of the vision becomes so, powerful that you keep on telling them, but Allah said, and the Prophet said, and then they will automatically, because you perceive things through your self-consciousness, right? And you are a collection of experiences. And that experience makes them perceive these ayat and the hadith in a different way. So they will automatically try to find a way to reinterpret the ayah or the hadith because of the strength of their experience. That's the synthetic role of self-consciousness that we talked about in the past. So then they will fear not the blame of the critics, even if every proof in the heavens and the earth was presented to them. To him, this is like someone who saw the crescent with his own eyes. If the people of the heavens and earth tell him he did not, he will not pay any attention to them. Like I said, your self-consciousness is just a group of memories and experiences, exposures, and everybody's self-consciousness. Isn't it amazing how we disagree over all things, like everything, because as human beings, who are you? That philosophical, basically question of what is self-consciousness? Who are you? Certainly we have our own paradigm that we will not walk away from as Muslims. We have the spirit and so on. But then, that spirit gets sort of exposed to repetitive impressions that Hume said would be vivacious enough to cause belief at one point. And that makes our perspective very different based on our different experiences. So for someone who has been purified, exquisitely purified, and rose above the lusts and vices of the lower self, then the image of their object of worship appears to them in their mind, and the exquisite light feels like it is outside, not in the mind. And Ibn Qayyim will talk about basically how this actually happens. Then he says, وَلَعَمْرُ اللَّهِ إِنَّا لَا نُكَذِّبُهُ فِيمَا أَخْبَرَ بِهِ عَنْ رُؤْيَتِهِ ولكن إنما نوقن أنه إنما رأى صورة معتقده في ذاته ونفسه لا الحقيقة في الخارج، فهذا أحد الغلطين وسببه قوة ارتباط حاسة البصر بالقلب، فالعين مرآة القلب شديدة الاتصال به، وتنضم إلى ذلك قوة الاعتقاد وضعف التمييز وغلبة حكم الهوى والحال على العلم، وسماعه من القوم أن العلم حجاب. By Allah, we don't belie him, and that's important here. By Allah, we do not belie him. We did not believe him, but we don't belie him. Regarding what he reported about his vision, but we are certain that he only saw the image of his belief inside him, not in the extramental reality. This is one of the two mistakes. One of the two mistakes. Its cause, the cause of this mistake, to think that what you saw was actually in the extramental reality outside of your mind, the cause of this mistake, Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah says, the cause is, or its cause is the strength of the connection between the eye and the heart. The strength of the connection between the eye and the heart. Don't you believe that? Don't you understand? Like, can't you sometimes see someone that you long for? Can a mother see her son walking through the door when he's absent? Or when he's been like away for years or missing or something like this? Can she be so focused to see visions of her son walking through the door, often? Yes, it can happen. Because there is sort of the focus of the heart, and then the connection, the strong connection between the heart and the eyes. The strong connection between the heart and the eyes. So what you see with your heart, sometimes you could feel it, you are seeing it with your eyes. For the eye, the Shaykh said, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, it's strength of connection between the eye and the heart. For the eye is the mirror of the heart, and it is strongly attached to it. Add to this the strength of belief, so the experience of the heart now, and the weakness of discernment. And that is the most beautiful thing, to be able to reconcile, the strength with the weakness at the same time. It's like the Prophet ﷺ, he says about Abu Dharr, إنك امرؤ فيه جاهلية, and he says about Abu Dharr, ما أقلت الغبراء ولا أظلت الخضراء أصدق لهجة من أبي ذر. He says to Abu Dharr, you have jahiliyyah in you, and which is pre-Islamic ignorance. And he says to Abu Dharr, there is no one that walks on the face of the earth, or given shade by the canopy of or like under the sort of the canopy of the heavens, that is more truthful, more genuine, more sincere than Abu Dharr. Same time, the same. So Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah is saying that we believe them and we believe the greatness of their experience, but they have a problem, the lack of discernment. That is why you don't find any one of the greatest scholars with greatest discernment ever saying that. Did anyone say that of the greatest? Did Abu Hanifa rahimahullah say that he saw his Lord? Did Abdullah ibn Mubarak say that he saw his Lord? Did At-Tabari say that he saw his Lord? Did Nawawi and Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Hajar and Shawkani, or all of those great figures, great scholars, say that they saw their Lord? Or the masters of the past, did al-Junayd say that he saw his Lord? Did al-Harith al-Muhasibi say that he saw his Lord? No, none of them did say that they saw their Lord. So because of their discernment, because of the strength, the strength of the intellect, and this, which does not impede the strength of the experience, but it regulates it. It keeps it within check, so that it does not basically swerve into error. So he said, add to this the strength of belief and the weakness of discernment and the dominance of the influence of desire, that is the desire of meeting the Lord, and hal, the inner state, spiritual state, over that of knowledge. So the hal dominated over knowledge, and the desire to meet the Lord dominated over one's intellect and discernment. In addition to him being told by the community, the community of Mutasawwifa, that knowledge is a veil, and that is dangerous, and that is the root of many, many errors on this path. To say that knowledge is a veil. No, knowledge is not a veil. Knowledge is not enough. But knowledge is never a veil. Knowledge is the foundation. Knowledge is your mount to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah and the way of the righteous predecessors is your way to keep yourself on the path and not swerve into the side roads. Okay, then he said, وَالْغَلَطُ الثَّانِي ظَنُّ, he talks about the second error. وَالْغَلَطُ الثَّانِي ظَنُّ أَنَّ الْأَمْرَ كَمَا اعْتَقَدَهُ وأن ما في الخارج مطابق لاعتقاده فيتولد من هذين الغلطين مثل هذا الكشف والشهود. The second error is believing that the matter is as he thought, and what is outside in reality is consistent with his belief. Now he will project what he saw back onto his belief. Of those two errors, such disclosure and witnessing comes about. Then he said, now, keep in mind, he will talk now about al-Malahida, heretics. He's not saying that all of those people are heretics, but he's saying that some of them are. That some of them are. It is very important that you know how to read, a scholar. After he said all of this, he is not certainly describing all of the people who make this claim as malahida. And you may also say that the word malahida itself, al-Haj, is translated now as what? Atheism. That is not what al-Haj ever meant. وَذَرَ الَّذِينَ يُلْحِدُونَ فِي أَسْمَائِهِ, and leave alone those who fall into error concerning his names. Al-Haj is basically mail. It is basically deviation. It is basically deviation. Yes, it means sort of great, enormous deviation. You would not say al-Haj unless it is great, enormous deviation, but it does not mean atheism at all. It did not mean atheism to those scholars in their time at all. And it does not necessarily mean that the particular person is kafir. It means that they had made an enormous error in their understanding of whichever matter is in reference. وَلَقَدْ أَخْبَرَ صَادِقُ الْمَلَاحِدَةِ الْقَائِلِينَ بِوَحْدَةِ الْوُجُودِ. Well, if you say الْقَائِلِينَ بِوَحْدَةِ الْوُجُودِ, then you're likely talking about al-Malahida in the sense, at least it is not takfir al-ayn, it is takfir al-wasf. At least it is basically judging the disbelief of the genre of people who say that, not any particular one of them. Not any particular one of them. But the genre of people who believe in monism, that there is that wahdat al-wujud, which is monism, which is like something like pantheism, but there is certainly a distinction between monism and pantheism in terms of perspective. But he says, وَلَقَدْ أَخْبَرَ صَادِقُ الْمَلَاحِدَ الْقَائِلِينَ بِوَحْدَةِ الْوُجُودِ أَنَّهُمْ كُشِفَ لَهُمْ أَنَّ الْأَمْرَ كَمَا قَالُوا وَشَهِدُوهُ فِي الْخَارِجِ كَذَلِكَ عِيَانًا وهذا الكشف والشهود ثمرة اعتقادهم ونتيجته فهذه إشارة ما إلى الفرقان في هذا الموضع والله أعلم. The truthful among the heretics who speak of monism of existence reported that the matter has been disclosed to them as they spoke about it, and that they witnessed it in the outside, extra-mental reality, with their own eyes. Such disclosure and witnessing is the fruit of their belief and its natural result. This was a brief exposition of the distinguishing criterion in this respect. Allah knows best. And then he proceeds to talk again about al-Iyan wal-Mu'ayana, about beholding with the eye. And he says, والعيان والمعاينة أن تقع العين في العين وقد عرفت أن هذا مستحيل في الدنيا ومن جوزه فقد أخطأ أقبح الخطأ وتعدى مقام الرسل وإنما غاية ما يصل إليه العارف مزيد إيمان ويقين بحيث يعبد الله كأنه يراه لقوة يقينه وإيمانه بوجوده وأسمائه وصفاته. Eyeing or eyesight is for the eye to look in the eye. And you have already known that this is impossible in the world, to see your Lord with your eyes, the eyes of your head. Impossible in this world. Whoever validated it has committed the ugliest error and circumvented the station of the messengers. The most a knower, a arif, reaches is greater faith and certainty to the point where he worships Allah as if he sees him because of the greatness of his certainty and faith in his existence, that's the divine existence, and in his names and attributes. Then he says, you have also known وأن الأنوار واللوامع والبوارق إنما هي أنوار الإيمان والطاعات من الذكر وقراءة القرآن ونحوها أو هي أنوار استغراقه في مطالعة الأسماء والصفات وإثباتها والإيمان بها بحيث يبقى كالمعاين لها فيشرق على قلبه نور المعرفة فيظنه نور الذات والصفات. You have also known that the lights, glimmers, and lightnings are the lights of faith and good deeds, such as dhikr, the recitation of the Quran, etc. They could also be the lights of his submersion in observing the names and attributes, affirming them and having faith in them, that he becomes. So the lights that he's seeing are the lights of his own good deeds, the lights of his own absorption into his object of worship, not the lights of the divine or the lights of the divine attributes. They could also be the lights of his submersion in observing the names and attributes, affirming them and having faith in them, that he becomes like an eyewitness of them. Then the light of recognition will rise over his heart and he may perceive it as the light of the That, divine ipseity or essence or the attributes. Then he says, وتقدم بيان السبب الموقع لهم في ذلك وأنهم لا يمكن رجوعهم في ذلك إلى المحجوبين الذين غلظ في هذا الباب حجابهم وكثفت عن إدراكه أرواحهم وقصرت عنه علومهم ومعارفهم ولم يكادوا يظفرون بذائق صحيح الذوق يفصل لهم أحكام أذواقهم ومشاهدتهم وينزلها منازلها ويبين أسبابها وعللها فوجود هذا أعز شيء. He will then talk about why they are not listening to many scholars, because he will say that the scholars who don't have spiritual experience, and that is not to say that that there is a dichotomy between scholarship and wilaya, or dichotomy between scholarship and righteousness. No, absolutely not. The greatest awliya are the greatest scholars that combine between the interior and the exterior. But he's saying that they are mutabayinan. They are two different things. You can have knowledge as an information gathering without experience, and you can have experience without knowledge, but it will not be as great as the experience that is based on knowledge, for sure. That's clear, right? So they are two different things, but they are not mutually exclusive at all. No, in fact, not. they are not mutually inclusive either. They're not mutually inclusive either. They're just symbiotic, synergistic. They corroborate each other. They help each other. That's good. So, but then he says, these people who have these experiences and have little discernment, why is it that they are not listening to many scholars? Here he goes. He says it was mentioned before the reason that befell them in this error. Those people of spiritual experiences, the reason that befell them in this error, and that they cannot defer concerning this matter to the veiled people. He's talking about the scholars who are veiled, who don't have an experience. To the veiled people whose veil is impenetrable and their souls are too dense to realize it. And they may never come across anyone with genuine taste who can delineate for them the realities of their tastes and visions and their proper place, and explain for them their causes and effects, for the presence of those is very rare. So those who actually combine the two, the discernment, the Quran and the Iman, the Wahy and the experience, that combine the two, their presence is extremely rare. And then he says, وَالْقَوْمُ لَهُمْ طَلَبٌ شَدِيدٌ وَهِمَمٌ عَالِيَةٌ وهممهم عندهم والقوم لهم طلب شديد والقوم لهم طلب شديد وهمم عالية ومطلبهم وهممهم عندهم فوق مطالب الناس وهممهم فتشهد أرواحهم مقامه فتشهد أرواحهم مقامات المنكر عليهم فتشهد أرواحهم مقامات المنكر عليهم وسفولها واستغراقه في حظوظه وأحكام نفسه وطبيعته فلا تسمح نفوسهم بقبول قوله والرجوع إليه. And these people have intense eagerness and high aspirations, and their pursuits and their aspirations are above the rest of the people. So their souls behold the station, so they can see, they can smell when people are not sincere enough. They can smell when people are flawed. Their faith is flawed, their experience is flawed, their devotion is flawed. They can smell pretentious people, they can smell arrogant people. So if a scholar who did not have his soul, who did not go through the refinement of the soul and so on, comes in and critiques them, they just can't listen to them. So their souls behold the station of the critic and its inferiority and his absorption and his self-interests and the dictates of his nafs or ego and nature, lower nature. So they refuse to accept his speech and refuse to defer to him. Finally, the last paragraph, he said, فَلَوْ وَجَدُوا عَارِفًا ذَا قُرْآنٍ وَإِيمَانٍ يُنَادِي القرآن والإيمان على معرفته وتدل معرفته على مقتضى الإيمان والقرآن محكما للوحي على الذوق مستخرجا أحكام الذوق من الوحي ليس فظا ولا غليظا ولا مدعيا ولا محجوبا بالوسائل عن الغايات إشارته دون مقامه ومقامه فوق إشارته إن أشار بالله مستشهدا بشواهد الله وإن سكت بالله عاكفا بسره وقلبه على الله فلو وجدوا مثل هذا لكان الصادقون أسرع إليه من النار في يابس الحطب والوقود والله المستعان. However, if they find a true arif who has both Quran and Iman, the knowledge of the Wahy and the experience, the spiritual refinement. However, if they find the true Arif who has both Quran and Iman, both the Quran and Iman pointing to his true ma'rifah, recognition, which in turn points back to the requirements of Iman and Quran, one who subordinates taste to revelation, and extracts the rules of taste from the revelation, not rude or harsh, not pretentious or veiled by the means from the ends. His illusion is less than his station, and his station is above his illusion. If he makes a reference, he makes it by Allah, supplying proof from Allah, and when he stays silent, he does that by Allah, constantly attentive with his inner soul and heart to Allah. If they only find someone like that, the truthful would be quicker to him than fire devours dry firewood and fuel. And Allah is the one we beseech for help. Wallahu al-musta'an. Wa aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. We'll take 5 minutes and come back.